Hello, this is Dr. Ron Minson speaking with you today about the joy of movement. And what I'm doing here is experiencing my muscles moving, and I'm getting all of the joy that the muscles express because they have an innate consciousness of movement. And when we use our muscles for the purposes for which they were designed, there's an expression of joy. I'm also feeling how difficult it is to both have a cognitive relationship with you while I'm moving. So I think it's time for me to gradually step down to continue this discussion on the joy of movement, which will include brain development and movement and listening. Be back in just a second. Wow, this is Dr. Minson back with you again, now on terra firma, where I have a little bit more stability for being able to present with a little bit of coherence, I hope, what I want to share with you today about the joy of movement. The first place I've really seen and experienced and got a good feeling for the joy of movement is watching babies. You notice when they're lying on their back before they can even move or roll or crawl over, they're moving their arms and their legs, and what are they doing? They're grinning from ear to ear. I maintain that they are experiencing the joy of their bodies moving, and the muscles are experiencing and expressing that joy. Then you've watched them try to roll over. They bring one arm way over and tuck this one in, and gradually they flop over and they turn their head up and they're laughing. And of course we laugh with them. All of these developmental motor skills obviously are places where a child might feel an accomplishment and joy. But I think beyond just the accomplishment of a skill is also the inherent joy that comes from movement. And that's what I hope you'll take home as a message, and that you will move and apply this in any way you can. In terms of education, kids are not getting dumber. They're not losing all their cognitive abilities they had before. But we see schools where test scores are going down, national averages are going down. We're losing ground with many international countries whose their grades are going up. And I think that a big part of this has to do with the elimination of physical education, movement, recess outdoors. Because when they move, when they use their bodies, there's a clear connection between brain development and movement. Astute teachers know this, and they have stretch breaks or warm-ups before class, maybe a 15-minute break during the day. Categorically, what do they see? More attention, less behavioral problems, fewer behavioral problems, and everybody's happier. Everybody's glad to be focused. In fact, there was a study of 500 elementary school teachers that said that recess was essential for physical and mental development. That's incredible. So we've eliminated that and put kids in a two-dimensional world of doing paperwork and computer work. This is a huge loss. Movement is essential for brain development. They are intimately connected. So the more we move, the more we're helping the brain to develop. The movement area of the brain, right in front of the central sulcus of the brain, is right before the frontal lobes. I don't think it was a mistake on Mother Nature's part to put movement right next to the prefrontal lobes, because movement helps the prefrontal lobes to grow. So as we move, we're supporting everything to do with cognition, with higher learning, with memory, with sequencing, with organization and planning, emotional regulation. So movement has a great deal to do with the organization of our prefrontal lobes. In fact, movement also helps the brain to grow. If you want to impress your friends at the next dinner party, tell them all about the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which Dr. Rady has eloquently named Miracle Grow, because movement stimulates growth at the synapses in the brain. So it improves synaptic connections, more connections, and the fibers that enhance and improve connections within the brain. Movement and memory are intimately related. I like to think of it as movement and memory are mates. They work together. They support one another. So it's a very important aspect to remember that when you want to improve your memory, get out of your chair, walk around, go outside, get some fresh air. Whatever it is you need to do as a cognitive task will be enhanced by that process. One of the issues that had been a puzzle for me for a long time is how is it that movement is important as a foundation for math skills, for language, for reading, for spelling, I couldn't quite make the connection between movement and those activities until I realized that all of the movement that we do, the skills that we develop, have to have a sequence, an organization, a planning, and a sequence. Those motor skills and the sequential task that we have learned and accomplished form the foundation, the precursor, the forerunner of sequential processing in the brain. For math skills, reading, language, these are all sequentials. One has to come to another. So by having sequential activities that are integrated from a motor point of view, they support cognitive processes where sequences are so important. You have a pyramid that you can look at. It's a learning pyramid, if you will, or a developmental pyramid. I like to focus at the top and look at what is our goal. Our goal is good cognitive development, intellect, organization, planning, reasoning. But to get there, you look at the bottom and you have to bring in all this sensory information, organize that, which also helps the brain to grow. Then you have the motor skills that need to be accomplished. And then you have sensory motor integration, understanding of the two sides of the body and space. And as these are gradually integrated, it all supports higher learning, the intellect, everything to do with cognition. I've created a second pyramid of learning that simplifies what you saw in the first one. You have body organization, which is supported by movement, and brain organization, which, as we've seen, is also supported by movement. Together, these are the foundation for higher intellectual functions, including behavior, emotional regulation, and learning. I hope that this forms a foundation in your understanding of why and how movement is such an integral part of the integrated listening systems. It's so important. Listening is important, visual activities are important, and yet movement is also very important. It's important to remember this and include this in all of your therapies, whether you're an educator, an OT, physical therapist, or a parent at home. If you want your child, your client, to have better cognitive function and improve learning, make sure they're moving. So in final analysis, I guess I would say that the brain development never stops so long as you're moving. So keep moving. Thank you very much.